Imagine seeing the rarest supercar ever built and being told flat out you can't even touch it. A-listers have begged, museums have pleaded, but Jay's answer always stays the same. Even close friends barely get a peek. What's the real story behind these legendary machines, and why are they more than just cars to Jay? Let's dive into 10 untouchable cars in Jay Leno's garage. 10. 1906 Stanley Steamer Model H rocket. Nobody expects to see a steam-powered land missile in a millionaire's garage, but Jay Leno treats this brass-era beast like royalty. Imagine the scene in 1906. Gasoline cars are coughing up the streets, but the Stanley twin rolls out a car that sounds like a runway locomotive and hisses at you if you get too close. The Model H wasn't for grandpas. It was for maniacs chasing land speed records. Think 127 miles per hour over a century ago on wooden wheels. The real problem? Steam cars were basically hand grenades on wheels. You needed 30 minutes just to build up steam before you could even leave the driveway. One wrong move and you're either stranded or starring in your own slapstick explosion. Jay loves retelling how early drivers would scare the daylights out of their neighbors, and his Model H does the same to guests. He still invites nervous friends to ride shotgun just to watch them sweat. But here's the wild part. This car can out-accelerate a modern Prius up to 60 miles per hour, all while letting off the world's loudest kettle hiss. Jay's Model H is a perfect example of untouchable, not just rare, but irreplaceable, packed with stories of risk, rebellion, and raw speed. If you are enjoying this story, give us hype for this video right now. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like so this series reaches every explorer out there. The next twist in this story is seconds away, and trust me, you'll want to be here when it drops. Speaking of raw speed, let's move up a few decades to something that shook the very foundation of American muscle. 9. 1972 McLaren M8D Can-Am. Think Formula One meets Mad Max, and then imagine handing that monster to a guy who never turns down a challenge. Jay's McLaren M8D came from a time when drivers wore leather helmets and courage was measured by how much you floored the gas. This isn't some garage queen, it's a racing brute that dominated Can-Am in the early 70s, with Bruce McLaren's spirit haunting every panel. Problem was, this car's 800 horsepower Chevy V8 would try to rip your arms off if you got cocky. Back then, safety was just an idea, not a checklist. Even seasoned racers like Denny Hume would jump out shaking after a session in the M8D. Jay had to hunt for years just to find a real survivor, and now he treats it like a museum piece that bites. If you've ever heard Jay talk about this car, he always drops one detail. The original model got famous after Bruce McLaren himself tragically died in a testing crash. The M8D is both a tribute and a dare. Every time Jay fires it up, you can almost hear the ghosts of Can-Am screaming for another lap. This leads straight to another untouchable car where beauty and brutality are baked in from birth. 8. 1963 Chrysler Turbine Car. Picture this, you're a teenager in 1963 and Chrysler lets you test drive a car that runs on jet fuel, perfume, or tequila, whatever burns. The Chrysler Turbine wasn't a concept. They built 55 real cars and handed them out like science fiction candy to American families. Jay has one of the survivors, and it's the ultimate party trick. Here's the deal. Turbine engines sound like jet planes, and they're supposed to last forever. But Chrysler's dream hit a wall because the engines guzzled fuel and sounded like the end of the world at every stop sign. Plus, government regulators and oil companies wanted nothing to do with cars that might make gas engines obsolete. Jay's turbine car is so rare that even the Smithsonian called to check on it, and Chrysler melted almost every other car to keep the tech out of public hands. He jokes that the biggest problem is finding parts, since turbine tech never went mainstream. Still, nothing in Jay's collection gets more weird stares than this orange spaceship. But if you think that's wild, wait till you see the next car. Built for a legend, by a legend. 7. 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing. Open those doors and you might feel like James Bond's cooler older brother. Jay's 300 SL isn't just a show car, it's the original supercar, straight from the racing circuits of Europe. Back in 1955, you could go from a Hollywood studio to Le Mans in the same car, all while pulling up those famous gull-wing doors and watching everyone gawk. The twist: Mercedes engineers had to build the world's first fuel-injected production engine for this beast. That meant 0 to 60 in under 8 seconds, a number that made American V8s sweat. The doors were so unique because the frame was so rigid, they literally had to design up and around it. Drivers like Sterling Moss made this car famous on the Mille Miglia, but today, Jay uses it to remind everyone that true icons age like fine wine. Whenever Jay opens those wings, even billionaire guests lose their cool. Plus, he's got the full history, every nut and bolt, every owner, every race. His gull wing connects the golden age of motorsport to the present. But speaking of legends, let's jump to a car built to break every law of physics. 6. 1966 Ford GT40 Mk2. Hollywood made it famous, but history made it untouchable. The Ford GT40 Mk2 wasn't built for comfort, it was built to beat Ferrari at Le Mans. And it did. Big time. Ford's revenge car wasn't about style points, it was about putting Henry Ford II's foot on Enzo Ferrari's neck in front of the whole world. Jay's car is as close as you get to the real Le Mans winners, and every inch has a story. The big headache? It drove like a rolling brick at anything below 100 miles per hour. Drivers had to train like boxers just to survive a race. Jay loves telling how Ford engineers smuggled secret parts from England to Detroit, then back again, trying to build the ultimate race weapon. Even now, getting in or out is a gymnastic event, and firing up the 7.0-liter V8 sounds like starting a war. Jay's GT40 represents the best kind of grudge match. America versus Italy, with horsepower as the referee. But the coolest part? His car has real Le Mans history, and you can see the battle scars. Now, from transatlantic brawls to silent power, let's check out something from another world entirely. 5. 2014 McLaren P1. What happens when a supercar brand says, "Let's break the internet"? You get the McLaren P1, a car that's more spaceship than vehicle and one of the most advanced machines in Jay's fleet. The P1 is loaded with a hybrid twin-turbo V8 pushing 903 horsepower with an electric boost that's basically cheating. The catch: only 375 P1s exist, and Jay's is one of the few that actually gets driven rain or shine. While most owners keep theirs bubble wrapped, Jay's takes his to the grocery store just to see who'll faint in the parking lot. The car's race mode drops the suspension so low it looks like it's tunneling under the asphalt, and the active wing moves around like a robot dance partner. Here's the jaw dropper. The P1 lapped the Nürburgring in less than 7 minutes, a record for a road car at that time. Jay jokes that if you sneeze behind the wheel, you're suddenly 2 miles down the road. Yet even with all that, he never lets anyone else drive it, because every mile risks chipping history. Next up, a Hollywood icon built for a different kind of attention. 4. 1955 Buick Roadmaster Convertible. Jay's first car. This isn't just a Buick, it's the car that started Jay's obsession. He bought it for $350 back when muscle cars filled every high school parking lot and the only thing reliable was your hands and a wrench. The Roadmaster represents Leno's underdog phase, broke, hustling, and fixing his daily driver in parking lots. It has a 322 cubic inch V8 as wide as a sofa and enough chrome to blind a small town. The problem? Everything broke all the time. Jay spent more hours under the hood than behind the wheel, but he credits this car with teaching him every lesson he needed: hard work, patience, and the power of duct tape. Now, after a ground-up restoration, his Roadmaster is a rolling memoir. Guests always ask why he keeps it, surrounded by million-dollar exotics, but Jay just grins. This is the one that made me who I am. Plus, he kept every receipt from those early days, real proof that some things are worth fixing no matter what. With that in mind, let's hit a corner and dive into something that defines rare in the car world. 3. 1934 Duesenberg Walker Coupe. One look at this car and you know it belonged to someone who owned half of Manhattan. Jay's 1934 Duesenberg Walker Coupe is the definition of American royalty on wheels. It's one of one, a custom build for cosmetics magnate Maud Adams, complete with a backseat vanity that would make Instagram influencers jealous. Duesenbergs were already the Bugattis of their era, but this one takes over the top to new levels. The straight 8 supercharged engine could outrun any cop in town. Back in the day, owning a Duesenberg meant you'd made it. Today, Jay's coupe turns heads for a different reason. Nobody has ever built anything like it again. He loves dropping the detail that the car's original owner traveled with a bodyguard and even the luggage was monogrammed. The car's restoration took decades, involving teams of specialists, and it won Best in Show at Pebble Beach, a crown jewel even in Jay's massive collection. From pre-war glamour to futuristic muscle, let's jump to a car that took risks on 4 wheels. 2. 1986 Lamborghini Countach LP5000 QV. You can't think supercar without picturing the Countach's wild lines and scissor doors. Jay's 1986 LP5000 QV isn't just poster material, it's a ticket back to a time when speed meant danger and style meant breaking every rule. The Countach didn't care about comfort. Drivers had to contort themselves just to climb in, and you could burn your leg on the exhaust by accident. Here's the thing, this car was a pain to drive in the best possible way. The clutch was heavier than a gym workout, visibility was a rumor, and parking was a circus act. But it was also the fastest thing on the road with a V12 that roared like a rock concert. Jay loves that it scared off amateurs. If you could handle a Countach, you joined a tiny elite club. One fun fact? Lamborghini named it after a Piedmontese exclamation meaning wow, because even Italians thought it was crazy. Jay's model still has all the original quirks, and he laughs about the wild things owners did to keep them running. Speaking of icons that punch above their weight, we finish with the most valuable, untouchable machine in Jay's care. 1. 1994 McLaren F1. If cars had a Mount Olympus, then the McLaren F1 would be Zeus, king of the supercars, built to be unbeatable and now so valuable that owners treat them like Fabergé eggs on wheels. Jay's F1 is the absolute centerpiece of his garage, a car that rewrote every record book and humiliated million-dollar rivals in the 90s. Built by Gordon Murray with no budget limit, it's powered by a 627 horsepower BMW V12 and still holds the record for fastest naturally aspirated production car, 240 miles per hour. The catch? McLaren built just 106. Owners include royalty, rock stars, and a few lucky car nerds like Jay. He tells the story of driving his F1 at Laguna Seca, running circles around cars that cost 10 times as much. The central driving position makes you feel like a jet pilot, and the gold-lined engine bay, actual gold, keeps the heat down during all-out sprints. Jay always says this is the car he'd save if the garage caught fire, but here's the secret most people miss. The F1 comes with a titanium toolbox, custom luggage, and a Tag Heuer watch matched to the car. In the world of untouchable cars, the F1 is in a league of its own, connecting the past, present, and future of driving dreams, one unrepeatable machine at a time. And that, my friend, is why nobody walks away from Jay Leno's garage without their jaw on the floor. You've only scratched the surface. Every legend in Jay's garage has a secret deeper than the last. Don't stop now. Click through and see what hidden stories you're about to uncover next.